Daniel Kwon had exactly one plan for tonight, and it involved 3 5-year-olds in matching velvet dresses, ruining his mother's favorite scheme forever. He stood in the entrance of Soling, downtown LA's hardest reservation to get, with Arya clinging to his left hand, Ren gripping his jacket hem. And Juno already reaching for a centerpiece candle. He had to catch midair without looking like he was catching anything at all. His mother had cornered him for the 4th Sunday in a row. You cannot raise them like ghosts in a mausoleum, Daniel. They need a mother. You need a wife. He had tried logic. He had tried silence. Tonight he was trying sabotage, and sabotage meant bringing his daughters to meet a woman named Amara Bell, watching her bolt for the exit within 10 minutes. And buying himself 6 blessed months of peace. It should have worked. It had worked twice before, on 2 other women his mother had produced like rabbits from a hat. But when Daniel scanned the restaurant and found her, a tall black woman in a burgundy-wrapped dress, locks pulled into a low twist. Standing near the hostess stand with her phone gripped like a lifeline, she didn't run. She looked at the 3 small faces peeking around his legs, and something in her expression softened instead of shattering. She crossed the floor toward them like she'd been expecting exactly this. "Well, this is not what the app photos showed," she said, crouching to eye level with the girls, her voice warm and unbothered. "Hi, I'm Amara." "Which one of you is in charge?" "Me," Arya announced immediately, chin lifted with the total confidence of a girl who had never once doubted herself. "I figured," Amara grinned. "You've got the energy of someone who's already fired 2 babysitters." 3, Ren corrected quietly, peering out from behind her sister. Daniel had no script for this. In 3 years of careful, calculated control over every corner of his life, he had never once accounted for a woman who didn't flinch. Amara Bell had learned a long time ago that plans were suggestions. She'd grown up in Inglewood, raised by her Aunt Dot after her mother's overdose, worked 2 jobs through nursing school, and spent 6 years now in the trauma bay at Cedar Grove Memorial watching the unpredictable become the only predictable thing in life. So when the dating app matched her with a man named Daniel Kwon, 36, logistics and imports, 0 smiling photos. 1 photo with a child's crayon drawing framed on his office wall, she'd almost swiped away. 2 closed off, 2 guarded, then she'd looked at that drawing again, a man who framed a kid's art like it was the Mona Lisa. That detail had made her stay on the app. What she hadn't expected was 3 daughters, a restaurant that cost more per plate than her weekly grocery run, and a man who looked less like a nervous single dad and more like he'd stepped off the cover of a magazine about danger, dark tailored suit, jaw like it was carved. The edge of an ink-black tiger, tattoo just visible above his collar when he turned his head. Every rational instinct told her to make an excuse and leave. Instead, she thought about the girls. Nobody chooses to be used as a scare tactic. They deserved someone who saw them as more than that. "I'm Arya," the bossy one repeated for emphasis, as if Amara might have forgotten in the 4 seconds since. "This is Ren, and that's Juno. We're triplets." "Triplets," Amara said, delighted. "That explains the chaos energy. Do y'all like waffles?" "Daddy burns them," Juno said solemnly, finally releasing the candle. "That," Amara said, standing and meeting Daniel's eyes for the first time at full height, "is a crime I can help solve." Up close, his eyes were unreadable, dark, assessing. The kind of gaze that had probably made grown men sweat. But underneath the calculation, she caught something else. Surprise, maybe buried deep, something close to hope. "You're still here," he said, voice low, a faint trace of an accent curling under his English. "Should I not be? Most people run the second they clock the complications." She glanced at the girls, watching this exchange with the rapt focus of tiny scientists. "These aren't complications. They're the best part of tonight." She held his gaze, and "I'm not most people." Something in his jaw shifted, a crack in the wall he'd clearly spent years building. The host arrived to seat them. Daniel hesitated exactly 1 second before he nodded and let the whole plan collapse. Dinner went nothing like Daniel had scripted. Arya commandeered the seat beside him like a bodyguard. Ren chose the chair next to Amara without being asked. Juno oscillated between the breadbasket and total delight. And Amara, steady, unbothered, funny, asked the girls about cartoons, about school, about the drawing they were currently attempting on the back of a paper napkin with a stolen pen. "My auntie used to tell me stories about queens," Amara said when Ren admitted she liked the not scary parts of fairy tales. real ones, warrior queens who outsmarted whole armies. You want to hear about Queen Amina of Zaria? Three heads nodded in perfect unison. And for the next 15 minutes, Amara spun a story with her hands moving and her voice dropping into different registers for different characters. And the girls hung on every word like it was the most important information in the world. Daniel watched in silence, his face unreadable, but his attention absolute. "You're good with them," he said quietly when their entrees arrived, and Amara had already cut Juno's chicken without being asked. 6 years in a trauma unit teaches you kids can smell fake from a mile away. She speared a piece of asparagus. "I'm not performing. I actually like them. I noticed." His voice was flat, but something underneath it wasn't. By dessert, the girls had adopted her completely, sharing bites off her plate, arguing about which of them she liked best, asking 100 questions about her job, her apartment, whether she had a dog. Daniel answered questions about himself with the precision of a man who'd rehearsed exactly how much truth to give. Import-export, family business, 3 generations in LA. Vague enough to reveal nothing. Specific enough to reveal everything, if you knew what you were looking at, which Amara, watching the way his security discreetly cleared every path before the girls walked it, was beginning to. "You're not what I expected," he admitted as the check arrived, before she could even reach for it. "What did you expect? Someone who'd take one look at 3 toddlers and a stranger's cold shoulder and find an emergency to attend to." A ghost of a smile. "That was the plan tonight if you want honesty. Bring the girls, scare off the date, buy myself 6 months of peace from my mother." Amara laughed, a real startled sound. "I didn't come here looking for a fairy tale, Daniel. I came looking for something real. Turns out real just happens to come in a set of 3. Outside, the January air bit hard." Arya tugged on Amara's sleeve, her expression suddenly serious in the way only a 5-year-old's can be. "Are we gonna see you again?" Before Amara could answer, Daniel spoke, his voice rougher than before, like the question cost him something. "Would you want to?" "Yes," Amara said simply, watching 3 small faces light up like she'd handed them the moon. "I would." He handed her his phone without a word. As she typed her number in, Juno tugged his sleeve. "Can Amara come make waffles that don't burn?" "Saturday," he said, eyes still on Amara. "If you're free, I work at 12 till 2. But I'll be there after. We'll wait." As his blacked-out SUV pulled away, 3 small hands pressed against the rear window, waving until they turned the corner. Amara stood on the sidewalk grinning like an idiot, with absolutely no idea what she'd just walked into, the empire her new almost something controlled, the enemies circling it. Or the man in the parked sedan across the street, who lifted a camera the second she turned to leave. "Target confirmed," he typed. "Boss has a weakness now." Saturday sunlight poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Daniel's penthouse in the Arts District. And Amara stood in the foyer feeling distinctly out of place among the museum-quality art and the skyline view that probably cost more than her yearly salary. Then 3 shrieking girls in flour-dusted pajamas barreled into her legs, and every ounce of insecurity dissolved on contact. "You came," Arya yelled, as if there'd ever been doubt. "Ren said you'd forget," Juno reported, betraying her sister instantly. "I did not," Ren muttered, going pink. "I promised," Amara said, tugging one of Ren's braids gently. "I keep my promises." Daniel appeared from the kitchen barefoot, in a plain black tee that did nothing to hide the ink running down one forearm, looking somehow more dangerous in casual clothes than he had in a $3,000 suit. "You actually came," he said, and there was real relief threaded through it. "Did you think I wouldn't? People make promises they don't keep." A flicker of history behind his eyes. "I'm not people," Amara said evenly, and something in him seemed to unclench. The kitchen looked like it belonged in a design magazine, every ingredient for waffles lined up with military precision, flour and eggs, and butter organized by height like soldiers at inspection. "You're extremely particular," she said, washing her hands. "Control is necessary in my line of work. Cooking's the opposite, it's about feel. Recipes are a starting point, not a rule book." She caught his faint frown and smiled. "First lesson, you're allowed to mess it up." Arya measured flour with enthusiastic imprecision, coating the counter in white dust. Daniel moved to wipe it immediately. Amara caught his wrist. "It's just flour, we'll clean up after. Right now we're making memories." His skin was warm under her fingers. She let go before it meant something she wasn't ready to name. Ren cracked her first egg with the reverence of a surgeon and beamed with pride when it worked. Juno stirred batter with theatrical flair until Amara gently redirected her toward, "Just combined, baby, don't beat it into submission," when the first waffle came out golden and perfect. The girls erupted into applause, and Daniel's carefully controlled expression cracked into something that looked, for just a second, like unguarded pride. "Your turn," Amara said, handing him the ladle. Their fingers brushed. Neither of them moved away as quickly as they should have. They demolished a mountain of waffles at a dining table long enough to seat 14, syrup on every surface, the girls narrating an ongoing debate about whether cats or dogs made better pets. Somewhere between Juno's fourth waffle and Arya's insistence that chocolate chips belonged in everything, Ren went quiet and looked up at Amara with unusual gravity. "Our mom died when we were babies," she said. "We don't remember her. Daddy has pictures, but they make him sad, so we don't ask." The table stilled, Daniel's jaw locked tight. Amara set down her fork carefully, giving the moment the weight it deserved. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart. That's a hard thing to carry, even when you don't remember it." She glanced at Daniel, saw the grief he worked so hard to keep sealed shut. "Your mom loved you enough to bring you into the world. And your dad loves you enough for two parents. I can see that clear as day." His eyes met hers across the table, and in them she read gratitude, vulnerability, and something like a warning. "This is what you're stepping into." She held his gaze without flinching. "I'm not going anywhere." Later, while the girls disappeared into a playroom stocked like a small museum of toys, Daniel and Amara cleaned the kitchen in a silence that had stopped being awkward somewhere around the third waffle. "You're good with them," he said again, drawing a bowl. "Better than any of the nannies we've had. They connect with you in a way it's not normal, honestly. Kids know fake from real." She dried a plate. "I don't see your daughters as a project. I see three incredible people who deserve to be loved exactly as they are." He stopped, turned to face her fully. "Why? You barely know us. Why'd you text me 4 times this week?" She shot back gently. "Why'd you wait until after your shift ended to see me tonight?" A long pause. "Because in 15 years of building the life I have, I've never met anyone who looks at my daughters and sees possibility instead of a problem. Who looks at me and doesn't see." He stopped himself. "Doesn't see what?" she prompted. "Something to be afraid of." She set down the towel, stepped closer, close enough to see the small scar through his eyebrow, the pulse ticking at his throat. "I work trauma call at a level 1 ER. I see real danger every single shift. You're a father who burns waffles trying to make his kids happy. You're a man who framed a 5-year-old's crayon drawing in his office like it was fine art." She held his gaze. "Whatever else you are, that's what I see first." His hand rose, hovered near her cheek, asking permission before it landed. When it did, his thumb moved with a gentleness that didn't match the tattoos or the silence in the room. "You should be afraid of me," he said quietly. "Maybe, but you're a good father. Right now, that's what matters." The moment held suspended until Juno's voice rang out from the playroom. "Amara, come see, you have superpowers." He stepped back. But something had shifted between them for good. A door cracked open that wasn't going to close again. When Amara finally left hours later, 3 small bodies refused to release her without a promise to return. At the elevator, Daniel's expression turned serious. "There are things about my world I need to tell you," he said. "Things that might make you want to run. Then tell me." "Not yet. Not until I know you won't disappear the second you hear it." The doors began to close. His hand shot out, stopping them. "Tuesday, dinner, just us. I'll tell you everything." "Okay," he let go. As the elevator descended, Amara pressed a hand to her chest, feeling her pulse hammer. Whatever secret he was carrying, she was already in too deep to turn back now. Neither of them noticed the man in the lobby pretending to read a newspaper, tracking her exit with professional patience, already lifting a phone to his ear the moment she stepped outside. She's not running, he's already attached. This changes the timeline. Tuesday evening, Amara found the address Daniel had sent 3 times, an unmarked door in Koreatown behind a noodle shop, no sign. Just a buzzer and a slit of amber light beneath the frame. A woman in a silk hanbok top led her through a narrow hallway lined with black and white photographs into a private room where Daniel stood waiting, dressed in a dark suit with the top buttons undone. The tiger tattoo visible along his collarbone. You came, he said, and the relief in his voice was impossible to hide. I said I would. She lowered herself onto the cushion across from him. Though I'm starting to think you have trust issues. You have no idea. Food arrived in waves, dishes she'd never encountered, each one explained with quiet precision. His hands steady as he prepared her plate. When the last course was cleared, his posture changed, straightened, hardened into something careful and guarded. I promised you the truth, he said, so here it is. My family's businesses are legitimate on paper. They're not my only operation. Her pulse spiked, but she kept her expression level, clinical, the way she'd learned to stay calm delivering bad news in a trauma bay. I'm listening. My grandfather came to Los Angeles with nothing after the war, built connections, some legal, some not. I inherited an organization that controls parts of Koreatown, protection, dispute mediation, certain distribution channels. He met her eyes without blinking. You'd call it organized crime. We don't use that term, but you wouldn't be wrong. She processed it steady. Drugs, trafficking, no, immediate, absolute. Those are lines I've never crossed and never will. Gambling. Protection, territory. I keep the violence controlled. I don't touch civilians. But there is violence. Yes, he didn't look away, to protect what's mine. To keep worse people from moving in. Why tell me now? Because if you keep seeing me seeing them, you need to understand what you're walking into. There are rivals. People who'd use anyone close to me as leverage. His jaw tightened. After our first dinner, my head of security spotted someone watching my building, following you. Ice ran down her spine. Someone followed me, an Armenian crew that's been pushing into our territory for 2 years. Aggressive, testing weak points. He paused, and the vulnerability underneath his control was almost painful to watch. I'm giving you a choice tonight. Walk away, and I'll have you protected until this settles. Or stay, and I bring you fully into this security detail, background checks on everyone around you, real protection, but real limits too. Amara stood, pacing the small room. Logic and feeling colliding hard in her chest. Logic said run. Feeling remembered 3 girls lighting up at the sight of her, a man who looked at her like she was precious and terrifying at once. What about the girls? She asked finally. They're already targets, aren't they? Pain flashed raw across his face. Every single day. Which is why they have the best security money can buy, why their school is vetted floor to ceiling, why I've sacrificed everything to keep them safe. And their mother. How did she die? He went rigid. Complications during childbirth, nothing to do with the business. His voice dropped, tight with old guilt. But I wonder every day if the stress of being married to me contributed to it. Amara moved closer, seeing the weight he carried like a physical thing. That's not how medicine works, Daniel. Bodies fail, it's no one's fault. Logically, I know that. It doesn't stop the feeling. His voice cracked just slightly. I haven't let anyone close since. Everyone I love becomes a target. And here you are anyway. Here I am. She caught his hand, pressed it to her cheek. I've worked trauma medicine for 6 years. I've been threatened, assaulted, cursed at, and I've held strangers' hands while they died. I understand danger. What I need to know is, do you want me in your life, or is this guilt talking? His other hand rose to frame her face, thumb tracing her jaw with careful, deliberate tenderness. I haven't wanted anything for myself in 15 years. Then you crouched down to my daughter's level in a restaurant and smiled at them like they mattered more than anything in the room. His forehead dropped to hers. I want. For the first time since I lost my wife, I want something. Then have it, she whispered. I choose this, I choose them. I choose you. The kiss that followed was inevitable, fierce, hungry, the kind that came from 2 people who'd both spent years refusing to need anyone. 3 weeks later, Amara stood backstage at her nieces and all but blood's kindergarten talent show. Fixing 3 sets of butterfly wings, while Arya recited her lines under her breath like a general reviewing battle plans. Daniel appeared beside her, commanding even amid a hallway of glitter and chaos. My mother's here, he said quietly. Front row, she insisted. Amara's stomach dropped. Does she know about me? She knows you exist, not how important you've become. His jaw ticked. She'll try to test you. It's how she operates. Good thing I don't scare easy. Grace Kwon sat in the front row in a deep indigo hanbok, spine straight as a blade, expression carved from stone. When Daniel introduced Amara in careful, respectful Korean, the older woman's eyes swept over her slowly, missing nothing, before switching to precise, accented English. So, You are the nurse? Yes, ma'am. Amara Bell, it's an honor to meet you. You speak no Korean. Not yet. I'm willing to learn. Willing. The word came out sharp as a blade. Many things require more than willingness. The lights dimmed before the tension could sharpen further, and three small girls in butterfly wings took the stage. And every ounce of hostility in the room dissolved under the force of their joy. Ren, usually the shyest, found her father in the crowd and beamed so hard she nearly missed her cue. Even Grace's stern mouth cracked, just slightly, with pride she couldn't fully bury. Backstage after, the girls tackled Amara in a group, hug so enthusiastic she nearly toppled. Grace watched unreadable until the girls ran off toward their great-grandmother with their programs to show off. They like you, Grace said. Fact, not approval. I like them. They're remarkable because their father raised them well, alone, without help. You're right, Amara said carefully. He's done an incredible job, but even the strongest people deserve support. Partnership, love, love. Grace said the word like something dangerous. You know my grandson 2 months. You know nothing of our world, our dangers. You're right, I don't know everything. Amara held her ground, but I know those 3 girls deserve every ounce of love this world can give them. And I know your grandson carries more weight than most people could survive. She met the older woman's eyes without blinking. I'm not trying to replace anyone or change your family. I just want to be there to support them, to love them. Something shifted barely in Grace's expression, not approval, but something close to respect. You have courage, foolish courage. But courage, better than none, Amara said. 2 nights later, at a family dinner Grace summoned rather than invited her to, Arya set down her spoon mid-bite and asked, with total 5-year-old gravity, Amara, are you gonna be our new mom? The table went dead silent. Daniel froze, Grace's expression turned to ice. Amara kept her voice steady, gentle, honest. That's a big question, baby. I don't know exactly what I'm going to be to you yet, and I want to be honest instead of promising something I can't. What I do know is I care about you 3 more than I know how to explain. And I care about your dad. Ren's eyes filled. But you like us, right? I love you, Amara corrected softly. All 3 of you. Grace rose from the table without a word and pulled Daniel outside for a conversation. Amara watched through the window, sharp gestures, raised voices in Korean. Daniel's posture immovable the entire time. When they returned 15 minutes later, Grace's face had shifted from fury into something more complicated. You will come to family dinner every Sunday, she told Amara, not a request. 6 o'clock sharp. It wasn't approval, but it was the first door opening. Later, in the frostbitten parking lot, Daniel pulled Amara close. I told her that for the first time since my wife died, my daughters laugh from somewhere deep down, that they run to the door when you arrive. That I choose you over tradition, over her approval, over everything. His voice was raw. Don't ask me to choose between you and my family, Amara, because I've already chosen. It's always going to be you. Neither of them saw the figure in the shadows across the street, camera raised. Capturing the embrace with professional patience, or the call made minutes later to a number in Glendale. The grandmother's resisting, but he's chosen the nurse anyway. Family cracks we can use. Move tomorrow night when she leaves the hospital. Thursday's night shift at Cedar Grove Memorial ran its usual controlled chaos, and Amara moved through it on autopilot. Half her mind still on the photo the girls had sent that afternoon, all 3 in matching pajamas, holding a sign that read "We Miss Amara" in crooked crayon letters. Close to midnight, she stepped into the ambulance bay for a break, jacket zipped against the cold, and noticed a black van that had been idling in the same spot for nearly an hour. Instinct, the same instinct that told her a patient's vitals were about to crash before the monitors confirmed it, screamed at her to move. She turned back toward the doors too late. The van's side door slid open, and 3 men moved with the coordinated speed of people who'd done this before. She ran. Training kicked in: assess, create distance, get help, survive, but a hand clamped over her mouth before she made it 15 feet, an arm locking around her waist like iron. She fought elbow to ribs, heel to instep, every ounce of strength she had, but there were 3 of them, and they were ready for it. Don't hurt her, one barked in accented English. Boss wants her whole, a chemical-soaked cloth pressed over her nose and mouth. She held her breath as long as she could, vision blurring at the edges, until darkness swallowed her whole. The last thing she saw was her phone hitting the pavement, screen cracked, Daniel's photo still glowing on the display. Daniel was reviewing security logs in his home office when an unknown number lit up his phone. Something made him answer on the fourth ring. Mr. Kwon, male voice, faint accent. We have something of yours. Ice flooded his chest. Who is this? Amara Bell, picked up 20 minutes ago outside Cedar Grove. Your security was disappointing, honestly. A pause, deliberately cruel. Aram Petrosian sends his regards. He'd like to renegotiate territory. Your cooperation for her safe return. Simple business. His hand tightened around the phone hard enough to crack the case. Where is she? Comfortable, secure. We're not animals. Another pause. 24 hours. Withdraw entirely from the Western Corridor. Hand over your distribution network. Then you get her back untouched. That's everything I've built in 15 years. Yes. But you get your nurse back breathing. The voice turned mocking. Unless she's not that important after all. Replaceable even. Rage and fear warred in his chest, but 15 years of never showing weakness held. If he folded now, they'd own him forever through her, then through his daughters, then through everyone he loved. Let me hear her voice, he demanded. A shuffle, footsteps, and then Amara, groggy but unmistakably steady. Daniel, his control cracked at the sound of his own name. I'm okay, they haven't. The phone was yanked away, satisfied. 24 hours, we'll be in touch. The line went dead. Daniel stood frozen for exactly 3 seconds before he moved with total, lethal purpose. His head of security, Jun, materialized instantly. Boss Petrosian has Amara. Every asset we have, every contact, every favor we're owed. I want her location in 6 hours. If we go to war with the Armenians, there is no negotiation, Daniel said. Voice gone flat and dangerous. There is only getting her back. Amara woke in a windowless room, concrete walls, a cot, a deadbolt, no obvious cameras but the certainty of being watched anyway. Her ER training kicked in automatically. Assess the situation, catalog resources, build a plan. No restraints, which was good. No phone, no way out, bad. Alive and unharmed, which meant they wanted something from Daniel, which meant time. The door opened. A tall man in an expensive suit entered, tattoos climbing his neck, carrying himself like he owned the air in the room. Miss Bell, Aram Petrosian. Apologies for the theatrics, but your friend left me few options. His English was clean, precise. He's not my friend. He's the man you're about to regret targeting. Petrosian smiled, genuinely amused. Tougher than the last one, Kwon's wife. She broke easy under pressure. He said it like discussing weather. Her death was convenient timing for my organization. Weakened him, distracted him. Horror crashed through her, cold and total. You killed her, not personally. But I arranged the convenience. He studied her. You're different, maybe you'll survive this. He's coming for me, she said with total certainty. I'm counting on it. Either he surrenders territory, or he walks in to save you and finds a trap waiting. Either way, I win. He straightened his jacket. Rest, Miss Bell. Tomorrow will be memorable. The door locked behind him with a final metallic click. Amara sat on the cot, mind racing. If Daniel came, and she knew, with a certainty that surprised her, that he would, she refused to be a prize waiting passively for rescue. 18 hours later, Daniel sat 2 blocks from a shipping warehouse near the Long Beach port, studying blueprints with total focus, while his organization moved around him like a machine finally allowed to run at full speed. They'd traced her phone before it died, tracked the van through traffic cameras across the city, confirmed the warehouse as an Armenian front. 12 men inside minimum, Jun reported. Heavy weapons, Petrosian's expecting you personally. It's obviously a trap, then we don't walk through the front door. Daniel pulled up the schematics. Old maintenance access on the east side. We get in unseen, extract her, and we're gone before they know it happened. His phone buzzed, an unsolicited video. His blood went cold. Amara, bound to a chair, bruised but conscious, Petrosian beside her, with a gun resting against her temple with obscene casualness. Mr. Kwon, time's up. Front door alone, unarmed, or I paint the walls with her. 10 minutes. On the screen, Amara's eyes found the camera directly. No tears, no begging, pure, unmistakable defiance. I'm going in, Daniel said. It's suicide, Jun warned. They'll kill you both. Then you'll need to be fast about extraction. Daniel checked his weapons, methodical, controlled. Give me 5 minutes inside, then hit them from 3 sides. Smoke, chaos, overwhelm them completely. He allowed himself one grim smile. Let Petrosian think he's winning until it's too late for him to matter. He walked to the warehouse alone, hands visible, letting the guards find the weapon he'd planted for them to discover, and missed the small blade tucked in his boot exactly as planned. Inside, Petrosian sat like a king on a folding metal chair, Amara bound and bruised beside him but very much alive, the great Daniel Kwon. Walking into a trap for a woman he's known 2 months, Petrosian laughed. Love makes men predictable, or dangerous, Daniel said, eyes never leaving Amara, cataloging her injuries, calculating risk. Men with nothing to lose are controllable. Men with everything to lose burn the world down. He checked his watch with deliberate calm. 3 minutes ago, your supply routes were cut. 2 minutes ago, your lieutenants were picked up by contacts you didn't know I had. 1 minute ago, your accounts froze solid. Petrosian's confidence flickered. He grabbed his phone and his face went pale as notifications flooded the screen. You took my woman, Daniel said quietly, so I took your empire. And now my people are coming through those doors. Explosions rocked the building on cue. Smoke flooded the space, gunfire erupting from 3 directions. Daniel moved fast, retrieved his blade, cut Amara's restraints in seconds. Can you run? After 19 hours tied to a chair. Watch me, he shielded her body with his own as they moved through smoke and chaos, Jun providing cover fire. Fighting their way to the loading dock, while Petrosian screamed orders, no one could hear over the noise. Outside, Daniel bundled her into an armored SUV, and only when the doors sealed and the vehicle was moving did he finally let himself breathe. You came, Amara whispered, voice breaking. Did you think I wouldn't? He pulled her against his chest, hands shaking slightly as he held her. No one takes what's mine in lives. Possessive, she managed, half a sob, half a laugh. Completely, he kissed her forehead, her temple, her lips. If anyone ever tries this again, I will end everything they've ever built. She pulled back to meet his eyes. He told me something. About your wife, he said her death wasn't an accident, that he arranged it. Daniel's expression turned to stone, all warmth draining into something cold and absolute. He lifted his phone. Jun. Petrosian doesn't leave that building alive. Make it memorable. Back at the penthouse, Daniel checked every inch of Amara for injuries with clinical thoroughness, cursing softly at the bruising on her wrists. I should have doubled your security the day I told you the truth. This isn't your fault. It's entirely my fault. You're in danger because I was selfish enough to want you anyway. She grabbed his hands, forcing him still, forcing him to look at her. I chose this, Daniel. I chose you, I chose them, and I'd choose it again knowing everything. You could have died walking in there. You didn't because you came for me, because you're exactly as dangerous as you need to be to keep us safe. She cupped his face. I'm not going anywhere. Understand, he pulled her into his chest, his voice unraveling. I love you. I shouldn't, it's too fast, too complicated, too dangerous, but I do. I love you completely. Say it again. I love you, Amara Bell. You and my daughters are my entire world now. Everything else is just noise. The next morning, 3 small girls burst into their father's bedroom and found Amara asleep beside him, safe and whole. And their shrieks of pure joy woke the entire floor. 8 months later, the Kwon family estate in Pasadena was transformed for a celebration, cherry blossoms flown in from Korea beside kente cloth table runners. Traditional lanterns strung alongside string lights, 2 families and 2 histories woven into one afternoon. Amara stood in the bridal suite while her Aunt Dot adjusted a dress they'd designed together, ivory silk with gold-threaded kente accents at the hem. Tradition and reinvention stitched into the same seams. You sure about this, baby? Dot asked, gentle, only half teasing. Not too late to run, Amara laughed. Auntie, I've been sure since the night he walked into that restaurant with 3 tiny saboteurs, thinking they'd scare me off. Arya peeked through the door in her flower girl dress. A miniature echo of Amara's gown. Ren says, are you ready? Also, Juno ate 4 cupcakes at the reception, so she might throw up, just a heads up. Perfectly, wonderfully chaotic. Exactly her life now. The ceremony braided Korean and Black American tradition into something entirely their own. Grace sat in the front row, spine as straight as ever, eyes suspiciously bright with emotion she refused to name out loud. She'd come around slowly, stubbornly, but watching her great-granddaughters, this happy had worn even her down completely. When Daniel lifted Amara's veil, his smile broke wide open, transforming his whole face. "You came," he said. "I always do," she said, tears sliding freely now. "And I always will." At the reception, over Korean barbecue served beside jerk chicken, kimchi next to collard greens. They danced their first dance as three small girls in matching dresses waited exactly as long as they could stand before crashing into the middle of it, refusing to be left out of anything ever again. "No regrets," Daniel murmured against her hair. "Only that you didn't bring them to every date from the start," Amara said. "Would have saved us both a lot of time." "You're mine now," he said. "Officially, permanently, so possessive," she teased. "Completely," he said, and pulled her closer, four people standing at the center of everything that mattered, none of them ever going anywhere again. If you enjoyed this story of danger, family, and a love that refused to run, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more romance stories like this one, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next upload. Drop a comment below. Would you have stayed like Amara did? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.